Okay, I think my computer broke, or at least the sound, or the microphone. Okay, so actually, that's a good. I guess that's a good thing. I could probably say a lot of what I said in better terms. Um, yeah, and I can actually see comments this time. That would have been helpful. Um, okay, so I essentially was talking about my civic audition talk, civic fellow talk, um, and make sure can everybody hear? That's the first thing, because my computer, I just did this on my computer, and the microphone apparently just cut off. So is everybody, whoever can hear, make sure you give a thumbs up or not, um, which would be interesting. Okay. So yeah, I was talking about the civic fellowship and essentially I was telling them about my audition process for Calgary, which was very strange. The strange thing was one, I did not have a practice room. I had a room maybe 3 days of the week, 1 or 2 hours for those 3 days. Um, wasn't really guaranteed whether or not I would have an instrument there. So it was kind of like, okay, I'm going in today. Will there be a xylophone? Will there not? Will there be a glockenspiel? I couldn't bring my snare drum every time, so I essentially had to just play on my practice pad, except for the days where I did bring my snare drum to class. And yeah, it forced me to be very efficient with my time. Um, and really not care about what about the specifics of each excerpt, you know. Again, if anybody's here, can you hear? Is the sound working? I just want to make sure people can hear because my computer kind of gave out apparently. I'm gonna have to get that fixed. um, yeah, so it was weird, especially having ended my time with Detroit. This was a very weird, very, very strange year for me, and very difficult for a lot of reasons. Um, that being said, going into uh, the year before I um, won this position, I basically was at my lowest point. I lost my job. It was it was a lot of negative things happened in my life, and I was really starting to question whether or not this was really worth it, um, and whether or not to like try something else. Um, by that point, I had already gotten the Pittsburgh Fellowship and Carnegie Mellon, so had I not done well at Calgary, I was really gonna change my major from performance to music ed because I like teaching anyway, and it was kind of my way of giving me a back door, a plan B, just in case things didn't work out. I gave myself till 28 to win a job when I was 18, because people do that sometimes. And by that time, I was like, okay, well, you got 2 more years. Make sure you have a backup plan by the time you get out, just in case. I was like, okay. Um, and but also by the time I got to the Calgary audition, that was my 11th audition that year of some sort. So I was physically tired, emotionally tired from the year, and my thoracic outlet syndrome was creeping back in. So I was really running on empty in every sense of the word. And yeah, I and also by that time, um, I had taken already two professional auditions, one of which I advanced, and the second one right before Calgary I didn't advance. So I was worried that my thoracic outlet syndrome was affecting my playing, which it was. Um, and so I was like, man, I don't know. This isn't looking good, and I don't have enough time to practice every day. I don't know about this audition. So I felt very scared going into preparing for this. So essentially, I just had to really put my trust in my basic technique and just go with that. Uh, in any spare minute I had, I worked on just fundamentals, full strokes, upstrokes, downstrokes, taps, and just kind of left everything alone. If I had a xylophone, I'd just run through all the excerpts and have to go to work after that, because by that time, um, it would have been like 20 minutes of each excerpt, maybe. Not even that. It would have been like 5 minutes, honestly. I would play Porgy, play it once. If it was good, fine, move on. Um, but I didn't have enough time to work on everything for hours and hours. I just had to play it and play it right the first time and just leave it alone. So yeah, I was definitely not I was not happy with the time that I had. That being said, I was forced to focus more on my mental stability and my musical expression, um, and not really focus too much on the physical. Because I really liked tech. I love technique. I love just figuring out every single motion of every single excerpt. And by doing that, I sacrifice my musical expression. So this audition forced me to really focus only on my musical expression and leave everything else alone. So when I when I presented this to the Civic Fellows, I basically was like, okay, guys, well, you already know the common sense things to do. You know, you practice whatever, you get the music, you listen to recordings, record yourself, play for people, slow practice, you know, all the common sense practice stuff. And I essentially said that their bargaining chip is really just them. And it really is. Like, at the end of the day, people are probably going to come in prepared. Technically, you know, they're going to know how the music goes and traditional phrasing and things like that. But the thing that separates people is people. And, you know, you just kind of have to let yourself be yourself and play the way you want to play. I kind of started learning that from an acting coach, Anthony Mindel. He teaches in LA. And essentially, he's like, you know, you just have to be you and let you come to the forefront. You know, do the work you need to do so that, you know, it's appropriate and accurate and clear. But at the end of the day, you're just presenting your interpretation of something that everybody knows already. And so, you know, after that, it's a subjective thing, you know? So it can't, you can't really control how people will take what you do, and you shouldn't try to, and you shouldn't honestly want to, especially in this art form. Like, you want to have the freedom to just create the way you want to create, and that should be good enough. Of course, it has to be appropriate and all that stuff for the audition, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's really just being musical for music's sake, and not trying to impress or trying to do something that you think the panel will like or the audience will like. Um, and being okay with that is not easy. It wasn't easy for me. Sometimes still not easy for me. Not just in music, but in life too. Like, you know, you always like, maybe not always want to fit in, but, you know, there are societal norms that you have to kind of adjust to. So, you know, you have to adjust in some form or fashion. But at the end of the day, you have to bring yourself to your work, or else it's just blah, you know. So I tried to impress that on them, um, and I it seemed like it was well received, and it was a very refreshing conversation for a lot of people. Um, So it was a lot of fun. It was very strange, I think, just to hear that side of the audition process. Um, but yeah, it's something worth talking about because it's what music should be. Um, you know, like my every time I've worked with an orchestra and talked about auditions, they've all said the same thing. And had I listened to them earlier, maybe I would have won a job before this one. But they've all said like, "Oh yeah, my students, I wish they would just play musical. They're just phrasing." Like, isn't phrasing musicality? Like, in part, because like you have to phrase to make a musical statement, but the way you do it is, really telling whether or not you're actually feeling the music or not, or if you're being spontaneous or not. Um, so I at least try to impress that, and it looks like I'll probably be doing a couple more of these talks with other organizations. Um, but it shouldn't, and I really mean this, it shouldn't be abnormal to talk about auditions like this because it just it puts less stress on the event and on the person. Um, because at the end of the day, like people are going to come in prepared. Like everybody's going to come in prepared in some form or fashion. Like if you just have to worry about, not worry about, but if you just have to think about presenting yourself to the audience and the panel, like why does it matter if you make a mistake? Like you're just presenting your interpretation. Why does it matter if you win or lose? You're just presenting yourself in that moment. Um, and if you do that, like you've accomplished what you needed to accomplish. Um, so yeah, that's basically my little mini take on the conversation at Civic, which was really great, and I'm very honored to have had that opportunity to essentially come back home and say, "Hey, you guys could do it too," you know. Um, but yeah, it's not even like you can do it too. It's like it's like you can be a musician regardless of outcomes of auditions or whether or not you gig at 87 different orchestras in a month to make ends meet. Like we went into this wanting to be a working musician, and I was a working musician. I gigged, I taught, I did classes, I taught online. Um, I'm writing a book. Like I am a working musician, regardless if I won the audition or not. I would have still been working somewhere, and that was my goal. And as long as we're achieving that and being and staying realistic about it, and not like um, second guessing ourselves, and making sure that we're doing what we can to keep that going, um, and not giving up in the face of adversity, especially when things are getting really, really bad. Like we just wanted to do this to make music and to, I don't know what your reasons were, but I really just wanted to hit drums. Like if I can hit drums and I have to be if I can hit drums and I have to be a music teacher to do it, or I have to work three jobs to do it, like I was okay with that. Like of course an orchestral audition and orchestral job would have been great, but I was really considering like, okay, if this doesn't work out, I can be a music teacher. Like I'll be fine. I'll still probably be gigging around. I can make ends meet, and that'll be fine. Um, and you know, I I think being okay with failure, especially that, like it just puts you at a different headspace and a different appreciation for what you're doing and for every moment that you spend doing it. Um, so yeah, all that to say, uh, this talk was really great, and I can't wait to have another one. It's it's at least cathartic for me just to share my experience, which is unique, like everybody's experience, and just to share what was freely given to me from like so many different people. Um, and I think that's another one of our jobs, not just as musicians, but as human beings, is just to like share our experiences, if not for them, for us, so we can like, it's very cathartic, and it helps us connect with different people in different ways. It's easier to connect with people if you know they went through similar things or something like that, because you know they're being honest and being truthful and not just telling you something for like a platitude of some sort. So yeah, that's basically the talk, and I will get the copy of it, so I'll try to edit it down. It was almost 2 hours long, so I have to kind of shrink it down so it's not as long as that. Um, but I'll make sure all the big talking points are there, and yeah, I'll probably put it either on Facebook or YouTube. I'll put a slight clip on Instagram of one of the bigger talking points, and as soon as I can, I'll make sure that's out. But thanks everybody for watching, and talk to you guys soon. Bye.